Hi, I'm Amanda from Integrative Healing with Amanda Butler. I provide energy healing combined with psychological perspectives to facilitate a deeper connection with the divine within. Today we're going to do a video about finding closure after a heartbreak. This is part of a series of videos. There will be a playlist of videos on transmuting heartbreak. And so when something heartbreaking happens, like I was discussing in the first video, and I'll put a link to that in the comments, it can be really shocking. There can be this initial, period of not knowing what to do, how to move forward, just being very confused, very sad, having a lot of emotion coming up. And then after that, even when the initial shock has kind of died down, it can be still really confusing about how to move forward, especially if it doesn't feel like there has been any closure or there's been any opportunity for closure. And really the inspiration for this video is an experience that I had that I found to be very heartbreaking. It was something that happened between me and someone who I really love. And I'm still sorting through it, and I don't know if this person is going to be available to really help me find any closure. So this is something I'm doing for myself, and as I was sitting and thinking through this situation and reflecting on some things that I might need to clear related to this, it was like I kind of got a little nudge from Spirit saying, well, instead of you just sitting clearing for yourself, why don't you make a video on this and you can clear yourself and some other people who may be struggling with something similar. And so I decided to go with it. So the other source of inspiration for this video on a more archetypal level is the story of Vincent van Gogh. He's my favorite artist, and something that I find really inspirational about him is that he had this really tragic, kind of heartbreaking life, and yet he took the pain that he was experiencing, the heartbreak, and he transmuted it into creating these beautiful things. And so that's doing this, what I'm doing now is my attempt to follow his example there. There's a quote that I like about him that kind of discusses this same thing from a TV show. I'll put a link to the scene that I'm quoting this from in the comments as well. And the character on the TV show is saying of Vincent van Gogh, "He transformed the pain of his tormented life into ecstatic beauty. Pain is easy to portray, but to use your passion and your pain to portray the ecstasy and joy and magnificence of our world, no one had ever done it before. Perhaps no one ever will again." And so this is my small way of trying to do that. And so Vincent van Gogh, he was kind of an alchemist in that way, who transformed the lead of the upsetting events that he experienced into the gold of beautiful artwork that was really revolutionary for the time. And there is a lot of beauty in that. It's like the archetype of this misunderstood, tormented genius. And while there is also beauty in that, transforming something painful into something of beauty, there is a shadow side to that as well. And that's something else that in this video I'm intending to bring closure to, which is this idea that someone has to suffer in order to be creative or be loved or ascend or be on a spiritual path, that suffering is the fuel for all of that, or has to be the fuel for all of that. And if we're not suffering, we won't be able to be loved in a relationship or be on our spiritual path or learn the lessons that we need to learn or do what we need to do or create what we need to create. So heartbreak, pain, suffering is something that can be transformed and transmuted, but perhaps there is a different way to fire and to fuel those creative processes. So clearing, the idea, the belief that suffering, heartbreak, misery is necessary in order to be on a spiritual journey or ascension path or whatever you want to call it, necessary to prove that you love someone, necessary to create beautiful things. There is, again, value in being able to use suffering as a way of finding greater compassion, finding beauty, creating good things, or tapping into creativity. It's a good skill to have when it's needed. You just don't want to set up camp and stay there. So let's clear that and bring closure to that as well, so that it's no longer necessary to remain stuck in suffering and heartbreak in order to create and bring beauty to the world. Joy, peace, calm can also be the fire for creativity, for love, for being on a spiritual journey or an ascension path. Also in this video, dealing with closure, there's the idea of needing disclosure. And by that I mean having all of the information disclosed to you that you need in order to make the best choices for yourself as to what actions you do or don't need to take regarding whatever your particular situation is. Having all the information that you need to have in order to move on in whatever way is in your highest good. And again, going back to the idea of suffering, it's not to say that, if you do this clearing, you'll never suffer again. No human life is without suffering. It can't be avoided. And particularly for those who identify as being on an ascension path or a spiritual journey or on a path of individuation, whatever you want to call it, all of those are not easy all the time and can be painful, but there's no reason to stay stuck in this suffering or these cycles of misery and heartbreak all the time. We want to clear that. And so let's go ahead and get started on the clearing. First, we're going to prep to work, and this is asking permission of your soul to do this clearing and receive this healing. It's like my higher self and your higher self working together to clear anything you need to get cleared, to have some closure on a situation that's been heartbreaking to you. And so let's see where we start. Okay, going to be starting with quantum speed therapy. It's a method using 4 charts created by Alexandra of Spiritual Healing Therapy. You can check out her videos. As well, she has a YouTube channel. Let's see where we start. So first thing that comes up is memory entanglement. Clearing any and all memories that need to be cleared, or maybe even revised, where with a new perspective, where in the past you saw things maybe in kind of a negative light. There were things about the situation that seemed negative, and maybe bringing a different perspective to the situation so that whatever it is seems more neutral. Like if you feel someone broke your heart, it's easy to look back on the situation and think, oh, they were just, a jerk that whole time. And maybe they were, or, maybe they weren't. And so clearing for a more neutral perspective on things. And clearing now what's called accelerator, being able to accelerate the healing process so you don't just stay stuck in heartbreak. The saying goes that you need to feel it in order to heal it, but let's not stay stuck feeling pain longer than we need to process it. So accelerating this healing process so that you can get closure on whatever you need to get closure on and not stay stuck in heartbreak and misery. Clearing now diversity, bringing in an understanding of different perspectives on the situation involved, being able to look at the situation from different sides, maybe have an understanding of how others involved might have felt, if that would be useful and beneficial for you to have. Being able to look at it from a perspective that is maybe somewhere outside all of the pain of the situation. And clearing now around the past, making sense of the past, kind of tied in with memory entanglement, making sense of the past, looking at the past maybe through a different lens. Because when we have been seeing things a certain way for a long time, it's easy to have that be our kind of habitual lens that we look at the situation through. Perhaps if all we've ever had or all we feel we've ever had are relationship experiences that were very hurtful, it's easy to see whatever situation we're in through that lens of this was always going to be hurtful. And so bringing a new perspective on the past, maybe changing, switching out that lens that you've used in the past for something different that could give you a different experience. And velocity. Again, I feel bringing a little more speed for you to be able to process through what you're needing to process through so that you're not just stuck in sadness or hurt or heartbreak or pain or whatever the emotion is longer than you need to be there. Okay. Moving on to our next chart, applying the energies of a cocoon, just a beautiful white light of protection, soothing, healing, to wrap around you at this time as you work through what you need to work through to have closure on whatever you need closure on. And again, bringing in the energies of reconstruction. Heartbreak can feel very shattering, and kind of rebuilding, reconstructing is a process and maybe a little journey in itself after something has happened. So bringing in energies of reconstruction. And also bringing in the energies of completeness, feeling complete, having the situation feel complete, having the complete information that you need in order to make the best, most informed decision for yourself going forward. Remembering yourself in your decision, even as you think of other people. And being able to redefine, again, bringing in new perspective, redefinition of, maybe a relationship didn't work out and it feels like a failure, like you might have done something wrong. Being able to redefine it as, well, I made certain contributions to the way this dynamic turned out, but it wasn't all on me. So redefining in ways that are more realistic and more gentle and compassionate with yourself. Bringing in a sense now of equilibrium and balance. Some kind of heartbreaking event can feel very unbalancing. So bringing in equilibrium to restore balance. And fusion, bringing in with this energy a greater sense of oneness with the divine within you, being fused together with the highest, most divine aspect of yourself, and being able to receive guidance and direction from that highest aspect of yourself. The higher self, the divine within, deepening and strengthening that connection, and there's always room to do more of that. And then the next item that comes up is systems back effect. And a relationship is a system. And a change in one part of the system affects the entire system. And so bringing in whatever changes to the system need to be made to affect change throughout the entire system. And perhaps, you are the carrier of that change. It has a ripple effect out to the other or others in whatever system, whatever situation you're in. And bringing in the energies of a continuous spectrum. This is like moving along a straight line from one point to the next as part of a storyline. Like there is the storyline to your life, and this is one event in the storyline, and we wrap it up and find closure and move on to the next event in that storyline along that continuous spectrum of your life and your soul's entire journey. Okay, and I'm getting the wrap-up signal for QST, so we're going to do a mop-up of that and move on to our next set of charts. Okay, let's see where we start. So going over to chart 5. Clearing all energies of bitterness around the situation. It's easy, of course, to feel bitter after it, feels like your heart's been broken. Someone has done something or said something that seems so hurtful, and it's easy to feel bitter and angry and kind of stay there. So clearing that energy of bitterness, pulling it out before it can take root so that you don't get stuck there and you're more able to find peace ultimately with this. So moving on to chart 8A, the inner archetypes. And this is clearing around your inner mentor. I see this inner mentor really as like an aspect or an emanation of the divine within you, the higher self, that light within that knows at your core who you are, what the divine design is for your life, and is there to guide you, to sort of walk beside you and hold your hand as you navigate this situation, this wise inner presence, inner guide who is always there with you, and who we really call forth to help you find closure on what you need to find closure for and navigate all of this that is going on, whatever it is. Okay, moving on to chart 10A. Clearing any miscellaneous blocks on this chart that need to be cleared. Clearing especially dissipation of vital energies. When something has happened like a heartbreak or something that's creating a lot of suffering, it can feel really draining, really upsetting, really tiring to be sorting through all of this, to have all of this emotion coming up. So clearing to stop that draining, that slipping away of vital energies, restoring your life force. Clearing now any polarity beliefs. This is something I see as kind of black and white thinking. All or nothing. I'm a failure or I'm a success, and the fact that this didn't work out means that I'm not a success, so therefore I'm a failure, that kind of thing. Or seeing, the other people or person involved in this is either all bad or all good. Well, they didn't do anything wrong. I was the one who ruined this, or it's all their fault. They were the one who ruined this. I didn't do anything wrong. So clearing that all or nothing thinking, bringing more clarity so that you don't, get caught up in blaming yourself or blaming the other people so that there is understanding of who is responsible for what in this situation, and you're able to learn what you need to learn and move on from this and have better experiences going forward. Experiences that feel more aligned and more joyful, more in keeping with who you really are as a soul and as an expression of the divine. Clearing now for more hearing of the good in your life, being able to be more aware and take in more of the good, noticing all of the positives that it can be hard to be aware of when you are caught up in something that has been heartbreaking. And clearing for greater spiritual responsibility, leveling up into the next step of your journey along your spiritual path. Whatever has been opened up by this is an opening to that maybe greater compassion, greater understanding. There is that idea of the wound is where the light comes in. So even though there has been a wound, something has been hurt, transmuting that into a way for greater light, greater spiritual insight, more compassion, more love to come in, while also clearing so that that's not the only way that it comes in, that it can come in through joy, and we're not dependent on suffering or heartbreak as the thing that always has to open us up to love or creativity or beauty or joy or whatever it is. Clearing now around the awareness of the entire spiritual process from spirit to the physical and back to spirit. And there's the idea that we are how spirit continues growing and learning more. The expression that we are of spirit having this experience incarnated on earth is ever expanding spirit's knowledge, and that this experience of heartbreak, whatever it is perhaps just one of those experiences to expand your knowledge. It can be transformed so that it's seen that way rather than with the emotional charge that is making it feel so bad right now. So clearing to make it neutral and just one of many experiences in the spiritual journey. Clearing on our chart called Final Forgiveness. Forgiveness is important in the process of getting closure. Maybe we'll do a video about that. And as part of forgiveness, releasing anger at all levels. It's normal to feel anger after a heartbreak, but we don't want to get stuck there. We want to feel it and let it go so that we can move on with our process. So releasing anger at all levels. Bringing healing now to the spirit body. And now clearing any and all other factors related to this for you in whatever your situation may be. All right, and I'm getting the mop-up signal, and so completing now a complete mop-up wrap-up of this clearing session for clearing for closure. And I want to thank you for joining me for this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to drink a lot of water after clearing, and it can take time for the healing to complete. It is a process, and it will keep working over time. Try to rest if you can, and I hope that this video is helpful to you. And stay tuned for the next one in this series. If you would like a deeper clearing on this or anything else you need help with, you can reach me at amandabutler.net, where you can book a session. And if you mention this video when booking, you will receive a 10% discount on any of my services. I wish you all the best, and namaste.